So Costco apparently is trying to keep their DEI program.
2024 may go down as the year that destroyed DEI. Major businesses and universities, a lot of them, are rolling back or scrapping their diversity, equity, and inclusion policies. Walmart, Harley-Davidson, Lowe's, Ford, Starbucks, Google, the list goes on. And that trend expected to continue in Trump's second term.
President Trump is certainly going to make sure that his administration gets out of the quota business and gets focused on making sure that our corporations are about productivity. We've seen whether it's John Deere or Tractor Supply, all the way to Walmart, which is one of the highest, if not...
In my opinion, I think they should hold people legally liable. If you're found to have hired people or or have made hiring decisions based off of something that's not merit, like you're hiring a person based off of discriminatory reasons, I think there should be a fine or like liability for that. It's really just that simple. Won't ever happen, but agreed.
The highest
never say never.
Company in the world making a decision to move away.
It's hard to prove. I feel like it's not. In this case, it's not hard to prove because that's when they're defining it. Like it's not like they're stating this openly, right? It's not like it's some kind of secret. It's easy to prove. Yeah, they're talking about it. They're advertising it. They're self-reporting. Yeah, exactly.
DEI.
One major company is actually bucking the trend towards merit-based. Big box store Costco pushing back against the changes so many others are now making. The Board of Trustees is urging shareholders to vote against a measure that would scrap its DEI program. And they write, quote, "Our efforts at diversity, equity, and inclusion remind and reinforce with everyone at our company of the importance of creating opportunities for all. We believe that these efforts enhance our capacity to attract and retain employees who will help our business succeed." Jason Chaffetz, Fox News contributor and former Utah congressman, joining me now to talk about this. So, Jason, it looks like everybody else kind of got the wake up in November and realized that people don't like this and people don't want to be told what to do, except for perhaps Costco. Do you think Costco will also just change its mind in the next new year when they realize that they're going to be left behind?
I don't think that they're going to change their mind at all. I think that this is like, if this is something they want to do, then that's up to them. But the reality is that if you're hiring people for things that are based off of like immutable characteristics, you're fundamentally practicing discrimination. So in my opinion, I don't think anybody should do this because I think it should be illegal. And in fact, I think it is illegal. If you're, yeah, what a stunner. Yeah, exactly. Right. And so like, in my opinion, if people don't want to get rid of this themselves, then hold them liable. They won't see it that way. Well, there's people that think 2 + 2 is 5, but that doesn't make them right.
Well, the American people are voting with their wallets. Yeah. And if they don't provide a good product, a good service, and darn good hot dogs like I like, then, you know, people will walk away. But look, they're a very profitable and very good company. But they also, if you really dice down and look at their statement, look, if they have a diverse workforce, more power to them. What I want to make sure that they're doing is providing products and services, not pushing a political agenda. But I think as the employees there at Costco, they want to make sure that they can progress in their jobs based on merit, not on skin color, not on some other diversity, equity, and inclusion metric.
Yeah, but I think that's what needs to happen is like people that are doing that need to be held liable criminally, or not criminally, but like by a court. Because if a person gets passed over for a promotion or like an advantage at a company because they're not part of an identity group, well, then that's discrimination and that's illegal. So somebody needs to get in trouble. It's literally, it's actually, isn't it just that simple?
Based on merit. And as long as they're doing that, then they'll succeed like these other companies. And some of these others have been pushing products on the American people that are highly offensive. And you don't want to go in your store and see their political agendas shoved in your face. That's where
Target
America
had that
pushed
problem.
back on a lot of these companies.
You know, it's been interesting to watch in the last month here, a couple of weeks here since the election.
Yeah, it definitely is. Tired of these intellectually dishonest people saying people want to advance based on merit and not skin color because it's the same crowd of people that are basically anti-immigrant racists. Does anybody really believe that? I don't think that that works, man. And I know that some people use that form of like argumentation, but I don't think that that's convinced. I don't think anybody believes that.
This sort of soul searching within the Democratic Party as they try to find their new message, their new messenger, you could say. There are some Democrats that are now trying to lean a little bit more towards the independent movement, at least questioning the messaging that they've been pushing here. Democratic Congresswoman here is urging her party to stand up to push back against DEI initiatives. Let's listen to this.
We need a platform with those individuals from the top down officers who are pledging that they will be inclusive. I think that we have to make sure that people do not abandon diversity and equity. We can't have a party that's one-sided, and that's not just race and gender and ethnicity. It is thought, it is demographics, and I plan to be a part and work with anybody that won't close out people.
So that's Joyce Beatty. Does that surprise you coming from her?
Look, if she's being thoughtful and wants to have an honest discussion with people who have maybe a different political perspective, more power to her. I think that's great. I think there are arguments to be had on both sides. I think what America is saying, though, and the reason these companies are shutting down their DEI initiatives is that, A, it's very costly. It doesn't produce...
I think that the reason why the companies are shutting them down is they're worried about getting in trouble. I think the probability of Trump or Elon Musk or somebody in like their government or JD Vance actually just deciding, you know what, you're doing this, it's clearly discrimination, we're going to crucify you. I think they're afraid of that happening. And I think really with somebody like Trump, can you imagine a company that like just for some reason makes Trump mad? A CEO makes a negative comment towards Trump. Trump immediately fucking goes in on that. Absolutely. Yeah, I like really. I mean, 100% this would happen.
Better product. And they're bypassing a lot of people who, based on merit, are more qualified to do things. And so if we want to become a country who's less racist, then let's be less racist. Let's get rid of the affirmative action out there and say, you know
they're
what?
Quietly consuming.
If you're the best person for that job, doing the best
in some cases, you're
that
probably
you possibly can, then that's the person that should get the job. Yeah. And that's where I think America has come to as a whole. Not everybody agrees with it, but I think in mass you see these big companies recognizing, and these universities too. Some of these universities, like the University of Virginia, which I love,
I saw something about that recently.
It's a great school. But they spend millions of dollars on these initiatives that don't make the education better. I would argue that it actually makes it worse.
Yeah, I think those universities have a lot of looking inside and trying to figure out what their future holds. As we saw this past year, a lot of people, families at home thinking, I don't know if my kid needs to go get that higher education degree at that university with some of the stuff that we saw this past year. Jason Chaffetz, thank you for
I think that if you are so afraid of your kid being brainwashed and being stupid, I think it says more about you. Like, my parents never cared what I read or what I looked at or anything because they just trusted me to make a good decision. Yeah, that's always how it was.
Joining us. We appreciate it.
You want to read Communist Manifesto? Go ahead. You want to read some other crazy shit?
Everyone,
go ahead.
I'm Emily
read the Quran? Go ahead.
Every
it's not good
weekday
parenting. I think it's the opposite. I think it is good parenting. Because if you try to protect somebody from something, the moment that they're not protected, they won't be willing to... like, you build up a resistance over time, I think. You build up a very big resistance over time to kind of like bullshit. And I think that if you protect people from building up that resistance when they're young, they don't have that residual buildup for when they become adults and they get thrust into it no matter what. And it does seem like they're getting rid of this in universities too, by the way.
It's disappointing. It's sad.
She teaches gender studies and social justice courses and says she's seen a spike in student interest.
We've seen our majors grow, and in fact, social justice was one of the fastest growing majors of the units that are being sort of restructured in the new school of social and cultural analysis. Yep. So it is, again, disappointing. Because it's clear that the students want these courses.
Murillo also says students who've gone through the programs are contributing to Iowa's workforce.
Oh, they're shutting them down. That's it. And Gender Studies Bachelor after Moshe University of Iowa declares they're closing an entire gender department. That's nuts. That's a huge fucking change. Holy shit. Yeah, wow. And imagine having 120K debt for social justice major. How does that generate value or money? How does that benefit anything other than thought? I actually think that it's good for a university. Like, I think that the goal of a university should not necessarily be to create jobs. So, like, here's a good example. I think that we can all agree that somebody getting a job in, let's say, what's a good example of this? Getting a good job in engineering is something that's more beneficial to society than somebody getting a degree in engineering is more beneficial than getting a degree in philosophy. But I think the goal of education does not always have to be for the means of creating a tangible value in like a society, right? Like it's not about, you know, how many wheels can you make, or, you know, like how many forks can you produce. So I think that if you want to go to college and, you know, use college as a way to further your knowledge and to expand the scope of human understanding, I think that's a good thing. It is, and I don't think it's bad at all. I don't think it should be funded. Like, they should not all be funded equally, right? I mean, like, it does when it costs $250K. Yeah, but it's their money, right? If people want to spend their money on it, that's fine. So yeah, what jobs can you get with gender studies? What I'm saying is it's not about getting a job. The purpose of college isn't about getting a job, it's about educating yourself. And a lot of people educate themselves in the purpose of getting a job, but it's not necessarily like that. And I think that there's nothing wrong with, you know, pursuing a life of education. I think that's a good thing. I mean, think about how many things are worse than that. Yeah, if you want to spend all your time learning stupid shit, that's fine. I mean, I'll probably still say you're stupid, but that's up to you, and that's your own decision.